James, we continue with political royalty. Governor Roy Cooper of North Carolina. I mean, I got to tell you, this is somebody in a state that at best is purple and probably maybe even a little purple-red. 6 times he has won statewide as a progressive Democrat. It really is remarkable. Governor, it's so good to have you. And I saw the other day you talking about the presidential race. You said, I have a feeling of 2008. You really think that Harrison Walz can take North Carolina?
So it's great to be with you, Al and James. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is a 2008 vibe. We think in North Carolina that we can do this. We won in 2008. We voted for Barack Obama. North Carolina wanted to be a part of history. As soon as it was announced that President Biden was not going to be running anymore and Kamala Harris was going to be the candidate, all of our Democratic delegates themselves got together, met within hours, and voted unanimously to endorse Kamala Harris. And you can't get 163 Democrats in a room and agree on anything. And they did that. We've had 12,000 volunteers over the last few weeks. 90% of them have been first-time volunteers. So not only are the poll numbers evening out, anecdotally, you're hearing people with renewed energy. I think we owe a debt of gratitude to my friend President Joe Biden, who has been a historic president. Has made investments that will affect generations to come. I'm grateful for that, and I say often that he has so many amazing character traits. One of them is doing the right thing. The other is always fighting through adversity, and 99+% of the time, those things coincide. But this time, doing the right thing was not trying to fight through this adversity. He made that decision, passed the mantle on to Kamala Harris, and the excitement that has been generated. His election was more of a relief and gratitude from Trump. Now we have excitement, joy, but I like you. We were talking basketball before. It was like we've made a run in the basketball court. We've been behind 12 points. Now we've tied the score. We cannot be satisfied and pat ourselves on the back for tying the score, because this is going to be a very close race. It's going to be a tight race. We've got a lot of work to do between now and November.
Well, in 2020, Joe Biden, like you, did very well in the big counties in Wake and Mecklenburg and Forsyth and Guilford and Durham. But unlike you, he got clobbered in those rural areas in the east and the west. I mean, you look at them at 77 to 22, and yours, you lost most of those counties, or many of them, but instead of 77-22, it was, I'm making these numbers up, it would be 68-30. Can she replicate that? Can she and Tim Walz cut into those margins among those rural folk who tend to be pretty conservative?
James is a much better political analyst here. The way I look at it, though, is we're going to see, this is mostly a turnout race.
Right.
This is going to be, can we get our people to the polls? Most people have made up their minds here, and our challenge is the people who think like we do, we have to convince them that it matters for them to participate in our system. I think one of the great damages that Donald Trump has done has made people distrust our democratic system, distrust election results. I think that because of all of the negativity and the attacks going both ways, that people get frustrated with elected officials and don't think government can do anything for them, and therefore they don't participate. Our challenge is to get them to participate, particularly our young people, and we have a young spark plug of a Democratic chair who is 26 years old, who is from the rural part of North Carolina, and she has made it a mission to try to get those extra percentage points. We've got a great story to run on. the Biden-Harris administration's investments have gone mostly into
rural areas.
Yeah. I was in a forgotten part of Sampson County, North Carolina, very rural, money to replace their water system. The whole community came out. Many told me they had felt that they were forgotten. A woman came up with tears in her eyes about all of her clothes turning yellow when she washed them having to have boil water days, and now they were going to get the funding to replace their water system. Kamala Harris can take credit for doing that. She can take credit for finally helping us connect high-speed internet all over the state. We've been using state funds and a great program of public-private partnerships, investing tens of millions of dollars to connect people to high-speed internet. Now we have billions. And so this is a story that we must tell. A lot of people already know about it in these rural areas. I think we can potentially have another percentage or two from rural North Carolina, understanding that this administration has done something for them. That combined with greater turnout with young people, combined with the fact that North Carolina is the third fastest growing state, that a lot of college-educated people are moving into North Carolina from the technology sector, from the healthcare sector, from clean energy, from life sciences. All of those things coming together, this may converge to a real win for us this time.
You know, one dilemma I think the Trump campaign may have, I don't know, they don't seem to have many dilemmas, but they're clearly going to run on race because that's what they're all about. But they got to,
And they quit being subtle about it.
Yeah, they have. But of course, the gubernatorial candidate, a bit crazy to put it mildly, for the Republicans is black.
Yes.
So how do they walk that line, do you think?
This guy is the most extreme right-wing statewide candidate in the country. I will put him up against anybody, and you guys have probably already talked about it, but when you hear him say that when God needed someone to face down Goliath, he called on David, not Davida, that men are called to lead and not women, and to say horrible things like abortions happen because women aren't responsible enough to keep their skirt down. He actually says things like that. When he says that I have an AR-15 and I use them for target practice just like other people do, but that's not what they're there for. They're there in case the government gets too big for its britches. And if that happens, I'm going to fill their backsides full of lead. This kind of thing was said when President Trump had assassination attempt with an AR-15.
He's called him, I think, the new Martin Luther King or something.
Yeah, or Martin Luther King times two, something like that. But he clearly.
This is Mark Robinson.
Yeah, this is Mark Robinson that we're talking about. He is full MAGA, and he would be a disaster for North Carolina. I've spent the last 7.5 years, pulling us out of the situation where we had the bathroom bill. Now we've gotten a Republican legislature to expand Medicaid. Now we have a Republican legislature that has passed a clean energy bill to get us to carbon zero by 2050. I've appointed by far the most diverse cabinet in the history of our state. We're working to stay away from those cultural wars. This guy will lead us right back into the cultural wars. North Carolinians do not want that. And I believe that Josh Stein, who will be a great governor of North Carolina and continue a lot of the progress that we have made, I believe that he will win this race. And I believe that our down ballot races, where we have so many extreme candidates, can actually pull people out to vote that will vote for Kamala Harris that may not otherwise have voted.
Reverse coattails.
For sure, like the head of our public schools, the superintendent of public instruction. This candidate is an extreme right-wing candidate. A lot of parents are going to go to the polls to vote against her. We believe we can convince them to vote for Kamala Harris as well. So there's going to be a top-down effect for the Democrats. There's going to be a bottom-up effect for the Democrat. Maybe we can converge and make sure that we turn North Carolina blue this time.
James.
So, Governor, we've had a show talked about how extreme, and this guy's way beyond MAGA. The current,
It really, truly, it's hard to be
what's
bound.
I know it's. What's the mechanism? Can they get him off the ticket now, or the ballots printed, or what's the drop dead?
Within a week or so, ballots will be printed. I'm not sure exactly the same day, but it's almost. And they're not going to get him off. They're for him.
Right.
All of the leadership is, not all of them, but most of the leadership is supporting it.
Yeah, the idea that I would still be afraid that the Republicans would come to their senses is just goes to show you how old and naive I am, because they're not going to come to their senses.
That's the problem, that's the way they've done with Donald Trump. And that's how extreme, partisan, technologically diabolical redistricting in North Carolina, that is what it has brought us, is Republican leaders who are constantly looking over their right shoulder, who are afraid of primaries, who move so far to the right that we end up endorsing candidates like Mark Robinson, like Dan Bishop, who's running for Attorney General and is right now part of the Marjorie Taylor Greene cabal in Congress, like Michelle Morrow, who's running
Didn't Bishop write the bathroom law?
Yes, he wrote the bathroom law. And so now he's actually running. He denied the election, still an election denier, voted not to certify the election in Congress. Think about what he can do as Attorney General of North Carolina. This is why North Carolina is so critical, not just because of this important presidential race where if Kamala Harris wins North Carolina, she is the next president, no question. But also all of these statewide races, the fact that we need to break our Republican supermajority. We had done that. We had one Democrat flip back to Republican, and therefore there is now a one-vote Republican supermajority. We want to try and break through that. So there is a lot on the line in North Carolina. This will be the first time, maybe, Al and James, in 3 decades that I haven't been on the ballot. I have found myself working harder than ever, and it's because everything I care about is on the ballot. And so we're going to go and call people and work and raise money. I'm doing an event almost every night for one of our North Carolina candidates, and obviously I've been with Kamala Harris. Every time she's come to North Carolina, she will come down the Air Force 2 stairway. She'll say, "How many is it this time, Roy?" And Friday, I said, 16, Madam Vice President. She has been to North Carolina 16 times as Vice President and chose our state to unveil her economic plan last Friday. So we're in play. We're in play. Big time.
So we talked about down ballot, and that's an obsession of this show. So we know we have some to the public instruction. We know we have Attorney General. These are critical. We have state legislative races.
That's right. Every seat is up in North Carolina because our Senate and House seats are 2-year terms, so they're up every single 2 years.
And do we have any competitive congressional seats in North Carolina? They're pretty
One is we've gotten back to this diabolical redistricting. We had our courts rule partisan gerrymandering unconstitutional, and guess how it resulted in North Carolina? 7 Democratic members of Congress, 7 Republican members of Congress. Fair districts resulted in fair elections of members of Congress.
It's about what the state is.
That's exactly right. That's what it is. That's what it is. So then the Republicans take over the Supreme Court, and on their own motion, they overturn the decision and say, "Oh no, never mind. Precedent doesn't really matter. Partisanship is not a criteria anymore." They redraw the districts. So now, at best, it'll be 10-4. And we'll be fighting over that 4th one. It could be 11-3. I saw Hakeem Jeffries the other day, and I said, "I'm so sorry." And he said, "You're going to lose 3 seats for me." And I said, yes, but the way they've drawn these districts, that's what's going to happen this time. We want to win that 4th seat. Don Davis is running in the northeastern part of the state. They've gerrymandered his district too, so it's close. So that's frustrating. Hopefully we can make it up in other parts of the country and can take the House back, but redistricting and the gerrymandering that has happened using the technology that you can go house by house and you can analyze everything and you can draw these lines any way you want. I think that is what has contributed most to the ultra partisanship in Congress, because both Democratic candidates and Republican candidates are afraid of primaries because these districts are so blue or so red. There's fewer purple districts. There is moral incentive to try to find compromise and try to find a way forward, but now they've taken away the political incentive to do that because there's so few purple districts.
Right. So I'm going to turn it back to Al. From Louisiana, and we're obsessed with hurricanes and land loss. But it strikes me that Eastern North Carolina has been pretty vulnerable also. I watched a thing in one of the Outer Banks of just houses fell into the Atlantic Ocean and from nothing but waves.
That's right.
Going forward, you see this is going to be something that North Carolina is going to be addressing.
We've made inroads in the fight against climate change with a number of Republicans, and particularly on the coast.
Okay.
We've seen it time and again because we do jut out into the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
We had two so-called 500-year hurricanes within 18 months of each other,
right,
hitting essentially the same place. We've worked very hard to become more resilient. We've chosen not to build back in certain places. We're requiring property to be elevated in certain places. And I think a number of particularly local government Republicans are coming around to the idea that climate change is real. It's affecting their way of life. But I'll tell you the way we've really gotten more Republicans on board and how we got clean energy legislation passed in North Carolina, and how I believe the IRA is going to help preserve the fight against climate change regardless of who wins this next election, is because of the economics of it. These clean energy jobs are moving into rural areas. They're moving into red counties. They're moving into red states. These are high-paying jobs, high-skilled jobs that people are getting. And when Donald Trump, if he is president, or any Republicans in U.S. Senate or Congress said we want to wipe away all of this legislation regarding encouraging electric vehicles or trying to bring in companies that engage in clean energy, this is putting money in the pockets of American families, everyday families, the people who have these jobs. And there's going to be more and more resistance to rolling that back because of the economics of it. That's how you get them. And I'm bullish on the fight against climate change and on clean energy because of the economics. And in fact, when I talk about clean energy in North Carolina, I don't lead with climate change. I lead with economics of it because I know I got a Republican legislature. They see the jobs that are coming into North Carolina. We've become a clean energy epicenter. We're the center of the battery belt, EV, hybrid batteries. We had the Prime Minister of Japan come and visit North Carolina because Toyota is building this massive investment of 12 to $14 billion, over 5,000 jobs in the middle of the state. It's really exciting right now, and that's going to help us fight climate change.
Thank you, sir. Well,
Yeah.
You talked earlier about the difficulty in the congressional races because of gerrymandering, and they gerrymandered as much, if not more, the state legislature. And when that one woman who was a progressive Democrat suddenly switched and became a right-wing Republican, Lord knows what she got. But in any event, they have a supermajority now, which means they can block any of your vetoes.
By one vote.
Can you turn that around if this is a good election?
We can, and that's what we're really excited about.
You think you will?
I spent a lot of time, yes. I spent a lot of time on it. And in fact, as a governor who has had a legislature where we did break the supermajority for 4 years, I had 47 vetoes, every one of them upheld during those 4 years. And not only were we able to stop bad things, we were able to leverage that veto for good things. And that's why I want Josh Stein to be elected as governor of North Carolina and to have broken this Republican supermajority so that he will be in a better position not only to stop bad legislation, but to be able to leverage that veto into doing some good things with the budget and other things. It has been a real difference, and it was a bad day when she decided to flip. And of course, the abortion ban, the 12-week abortion ban, I vetoed it. She flipped, went to the Republican Party. Every single Republican voted to override my veto, even the Republicans who had promised not to change the abortion
Including
law.
her. She had been very pro-choice before.
Very, very pro-choice. But even other Republicans who came out of some of the swing districts had promised not to. Every single Democrat voted to uphold my veto. So by one vote, we have a 12-week abortion ban in North Carolina, and Republican leadership has promised to come back and try to make it a more restrictive abortion ban. This is also what is propelling people to go to the polls and to fight for women's reproductive freedom. I think this is going to be another driver in North Carolina.
You know, as obstructionists as they are, sometimes the voters can give them a message. Barack Obama last night said, now that it's popular, they no longer call it Obamacare.
That's right.
And I think one of the striking things is the right wing, the leaders of the legislature, Republican leaders in North Carolina said, Medicaid expansion, never, never, never will happen. You kept working at it, and guess what? They flipped.
You know why? Because we convinced their constituents to talk to them.
Right.
We put together a non-traditional coalition of people, bipartisan coalition, tough on crime sheriffs who were frustrated. They had a lot of people in jail that they knew needed health care and not handcuffs. We had Republican county commissioners who were seeing rural hospital doors close because they didn't have enough paying patients to be able to keep it open. We saw chambers of commerce support Medicaid expansion because they knew that when healthcare providers treat indigent patients, in order to make up the money, they go to the private sector and push up the premiums. So we had all of them coming to the legislature and talking to their Republican representative senators. Why are you not taking these billions of dollars? This is our tax money that's going to other states. Why are you not doing that? They finally heard it. We got it passed. We now have close to 530,000 people who now have health insurance. And, Trump has been saying that he's going to eliminate the Affordable Care Act. He's publicly tried to back off of that just a little bit lately because he knows how popular it is. He will take those health care cards right out of those people's hands.
I'll tell you just one thing. I'll turn it over to James. My wife had a long interview in Washington with Nancy Pelosi and asked her if she thought that the Affordable Health Care Act could survive the Republicans. And she said, well, Donald Trump says it sucks. I think he does. James.
So, Governor, the term is coming to an end. Your 8 years as governor of North Carolina. And, we all, every person that serves have power office like you have. What is it that you would like most of all to be remembered for as your 8 years?
I think doing what I believe is the right thing to do. I had, during my career, a number of Republicans come up to me and say, there have been a lot of things that I haven't agreed with you on, but I have voted for you because I believe you do what you think is right. And I think meeting people where they are and hearing them and doing things to try to help them, I want to make sure that I have done that at the end of the day. I don't think there's any question that, my mission statement has been to have a North Carolina, my mission statement has been to have a North Carolina where people are better educated, where they're healthier, where they have more money in their pockets, and they have opportunities to live lives to be more prosperous, live lives of abundance and prosperity. And I think we've been able to do that, particularly with Medicaid expansion. I think we've been able to do that with passing clean energy legislation and appointing by far the most diverse cabinet in the history of the state. It has been the best cabinet in the history of the state. Jim Hunt is the greatest governor North Carolina ever has had or ever will have, but I've told him that my cabinet is the best. In fact, President Biden kept stealing them. He took Mandy Cohen and made her head of the CDC. He took Michael Regan and made him administrator of the EPA. Very proud of the great work that we've done. It's been the honor and challenge of a lifetime. And James, I don't think I'm finished. I don't know what I'm going to do now. But I like public service. So.
I don't think you're near finished, Governor. I really don't.
One thing for all of our listeners, right before Kamala Harris speaks tomorrow night, the governor of North Carolina will be speaking. That says a lot about what the party thinks about you. And I'm not going to differ with you, but I love your state. I went to college down there. My wife went to college. You disapprove of our choices, I know, because we didn't go to Carolina or State. Both my kids went there, and I really love the state. And I think if you did any serious study of the best governors in America over the last 60 years, 3 would be North Carolinians. The great Terry Sanford, who only had 1 term, the aforementioned Jim Hunt, and Roy Cooper.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that really is extraordinary, that state, which has produced some bad politicians, to put it mildly, could produce a Sanford, a Hunt, and a Cooper.
I can't imagine being in that company. I appreciate you saying that, though. Terry Sanford.
I think pretty clear you are, Governor. Pretty clear you are. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Well, we thank you, Governor Cooper. I think I'm getting the hook from your press secretary, so I want to make sure we don't get
She's making sure
I
that
already got staff every time you come in here. They like.
Right. So I just want to thank you a lot. We look forward to hearing you tomorrow night.
Well, let me just say, you guys, James and Al, thank you for all the public service you guys have given over the years, the knowledge of political history and the way government works, the fact that you guys have been able to express that and have people learn about it. I think that means a lot. So thank you guys for continuing to take time to do that.
Thank you, Governor.
Yeah, you got
Thank
it.
you, Governor.
All right, guys. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.